So Another Earth.
Yes, sir.
What can you tell me about sort of the blend of sci-fi and reality and just kind of the whole premise of, if you could set the film up for me a little bit.
Sure. I will give you my version of the official synopsis, is that on the eve of the discovery of another Earth that appears from behind the sun, a young woman who's just been accepted to MIT is involved in a terrible tragedy, and over the course of the film, she becomes involved with a victim of a tragedy as this other Earth grows closer to ours, though not in a disaster scenario, and by the end of the movie, those two storylines intersect.
Tell us a little bit about where your character's at when we meet him,
Sure.
and sort of how this Another Earth may or may not affect his view of things.
Yeah. John Burroughs is a successful and happy music professor and composer. He has a young son, a lovely wife who's pregnant with a second child, and he suffers a terrible tragedy. And over the course of the movie, he is moved rather, from grieving over that tragedy to kind of an awakening and acceptance of life and love, and the appearance of this other planet to him is a cause for fear and concern, because he's been burned by vulnerability and the unknown before, so I think he's naturally a bit cautious about it.
And tell me a little bit about the other lead in the film, your co-star, and some of her other roles in addition to playing alongside you.
Brit Marling plays Rhoda, and she not only produced the film, but she co-wrote it.
And tell me a little bit about Mike, who is, of course, the director. You tell me all the different things he did.
Mike Cahill is the other co-writer. He is the director. He was the cinematographer, the camera operator, and the editor. And he was terrific to work with, very collaborative.
Now, what drew you to working with him? It's obviously his first feature film. I know he'd done some really cool experimental videos. And could you tell me a little bit about how you came in contact and what made you say, I'll throw in with this guy?
Sure. I live in LA, but in summer of 2009, I was doing a Shakespeare lab at the Public Theater in New York. And I'm not one for missed opportunities. So I was in New York, and I thought I want to meet all the casting directors I haven't already met over the years. So I asked my representatives to set up a couple meetings, and one of them was in Chelsea, a fourth floor walk-up, very unassuming. The elevator was out. They were sharing an office with someone. It was noisy and dusty, and 20, 25 minutes, hello, goodbye. 2 weeks later, a script arrives in LA, and they said, is William interested? We have a first-time feature director. We have an actress who's not in SAG, hasn't done a lot of work, and there's almost no money. And I read the script, and I thought, boy, this is an interesting concept, and I've never played a character who has this sort of arc. And I saw the footage that Mike had already shot with Brit, which was gorgeous, and I saw that they both knew what they were doing, and then I met them, and we got on like a house on fire. So I said, guys, as long as we can work for about a week and a half, and rewrite and rehearse and workshop my scenes with Brit, I'm on board. And they said, we'd love to.
And what are some of the challenges and also advantages of making a film that way versus the more traditional big studio way?
Yeah, well, the challenges are that you have very limited time for a shoot schedule. You also have limited locations. If you want any special camera equipment, you can't get it. But there are, particularly for this movie, there were several advantages. And one of them is that because we were shooting digitally, we saved a lot of time because we didn't have to wait for the movement of lights. We didn't have to manipulate a large crew, so that we got more takes. We got more time to rehearse, more time to improvise. Mike would put the camera on a tripod, he'd shoot me, and we'd do however many takes, and then he'd say, okay, William, you feel good about that? I'd say, I feel good. He'd say, let's shoot Brit. He'd move the tripod over, flip it 180, and shoot back on Brit. And that's terrific for the actors, because it not only means that you have more time to rehearse, but it means that the emotional juice you've generated for the scene doesn't get dissipated for 2 hours while the lights are reset. And then because there's more time also when a scene doesn't work, as one of our scenes wasn't while we were shooting, we were able to stop and fix it for a half hour, which is unheard of in movie making.
And that's one of the great things about digital is, I mean, traditionally, smaller, less money, independent, that meant you had less time.
Yes.
Because film's so expensive and all, but now this paradigm's completely changed.
The production costs and post-production costs have fallen so much that that a film like this and its success should be inspiration to all potential filmmakers.